Broadcasting live from the Albay PIO News Center, providing you the most exclusive news update from all over the province. This is News at 12.
News at 12.
In the local scene, the provincial government of Albay is set to launch the 2026 Provincial Dietary Supplementation Program as part of the culmination of the 52nd Nutrition Month celebration. The initiative aims to improve the nutritional status of undernourished children and nutritionally at risk pregnant and lactating women through targeted food supplementation and nutrition interventions. A key feature of the program is the distribution of enhanced Nutri-Buns, Nutri-Cookies, and fresh milk to eligible beneficiaries. Under the initiative, undernourished children will receive food supplementation for 120 days, while pregnant and lactating women identified as nutritionally at risk will undergo a 90-day supplementation program. Participants will also receive regular nutrition monitoring and counseling to help sustain improvements in their health and nutritional status. The event will include medical and dental mission offering health consultations, immunization services, oral health care, and other essential health care interventions. Provincial officials said the program reflects Albay's continuing commitment to reducing malnutrition and improving the well-being of vulnerable sectors across the province. In other story, the Albay Public Safety and Emergency Management Office has strengthened the disaster assessment skills of local responders through a field simulation exercise under its rapid damage assessment and needs analysis training. The activity provided participants from various local government units with hands-on experience in gathering and validating disaster-related information in a simulated emergency setting. Trainees conducted mock interviews and field assessments using standardized RDNA or RDNA forms and tools, while evaluators monitored compliance with established assessment protocols. Officials said the exercise helped participants develop the skills needed to conduct accurate and systematic damage assessments during actual disasters. RDNA is a key disaster management tool used to determine the extent of damage and identify the immediate needs of affected communities within the first 24 to 48 hours after a calamity. The information gathered through the process supports decisions on emergency response, relief operations, and early recovery efforts. ABSEMO said that training enhances the capacity of local disaster responders and reinforces Albay's commitment to effective, coordinated, and science-based disaster management. In other news, 100 undernourished children and nutritionally at-risk pregnant women received food supplementation commodities during the launch of the Provincial Dietary Supplementation Program in Bakakay. The activity was held as part of the province's 52nd Nutrition Month culminating celebration and brought together health and nutrition stakeholders committed to addressing malnutrition. Beneficiaries received enhanced Nutri-Buns, Nutri-Cookies, and fresh milk through a partnership between the Provincial Health Office and the Albay Veterinary Office. Health officials said the food products were designed to help meet the nutritional needs of vulnerable groups and support their overall health and development. The program also includes regular nutrition counseling, health monitoring, and assessments to track the progress of beneficiaries throughout the supplementation period. Under the initiative, undernourished children will undergo a 120-day supplementation cycle, while nutritionally at-risk pregnant women will receive nutritional support for 90 days. Provincial officials said the program is part of Albay's continuing efforts to reduce malnutrition and improve health outcomes through community-based nutrition interventions. In the national scene, removing electricity theft losses from consumers as bills would reduce utility earnings but would not drive power distributors into bankruptcy, the Energy Regulatory Commission ERC said Thursday. During a Senate Committee on Energy hearing, ERC Chairperson and Chief Executive Officer Francis Attornini Juan said non-technical system losses account for only about 1% to 1.5% of a utility's total system loss. Juan said removing the charges would reduce utility income, but the impact would be small compared with the total system loss. Energy Committee Chair Senator Erwin Tulfo asked whether removing charges arising from electricity pilferage, illegal connections, and meter tampering could destabilize the power industry. Juan said utilities would be expected to adjust to a new regulation and strengthen efforts against electricity theft to minimize the financial impact. Department of Energy Undersecretary Riolita Inocencio said lowering the allowable system loss cap could push distribution utilities and electric cooperatives to improve their efficiency. She said eliminating non-technical losses could be done sooner, while reducing unavoidable technical losses would require long-term infrastructure upgrades, particularly among electric cooperatives. Meralco Representative Jose Ronald Valles warned that eliminating non-technical losses entirely could require additional personnel, equipment, and capital spending to monitor illegal connections. Valles said Meralco's system loss stood at 4.22% in 2025, below the ERC's 5.5% cap, with less than 1% attributed to non-technical losses. He said the cost of completely eliminating power theft could exceed the savings consumers would gain from removing the charge, with reasonable operating and capital expenses still subject to ERC evaluation for possible inclusion in tariffs. Tulfo rejected the idea that such costs should again be passed on to consumers, saying businesses must prepare to absorb operational risks and losses. Valles clarified that utilities already observed system losses exceeding the regulatory cap, and that amounts recovered from electricity pilferage cases are returned to customers through reductions in generation charges. He also explained that residential consumers or customers are charged the same system loss rate per kilowatt hour, but the final amount varies depending on its household's electricity consumption. In other story, Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian on Thursday directed the Energy Regulatory Commission ERC to submit a timetable and detailed plan for auditing fuel-related charges passed on by power companies to consumers. During the Senate Committee on Energy hearing, Gatchalian said generation accounts for about 60% of an electricity bill, with fuel comprising a substantial portion of charges for coal, liquefied natural gas, and other conventional power sources. Gatchalian said ERC should determine whether fuel costs charged by generation companies and distribution utilities reflect actual market and purchase prices to prevent consumers from being billed excessive amounts. He also directed the Commission to submit its audit resolution and identify regulated entities to have failed to comply with its requirements. ERC Chairperson and Chief Executive Officer Francis Attornino Juan said the regulator's confirmation process allows refunds or additional collections after determining whether a distribution utility has over-recovered or under-recovered pass-through charges. Juan said the ERC could order the immediate return of excess collections if an audit finds over-recovery, without prejudice to the issuance of a show-cause order. He explained that distribution utilities would issue the refunds because they collect payments from consumers, but they may recover the amount from generation companies that failed to comply with their fuel adjustment agreements. Gatchalian also directed the ERC to examine contracts between distribution utilities and generators, particularly agreements governing fuel price adjustments. He cited more than 400 show-cause orders issued by the regulator and sought updates on 104 distribution utilities and 37 generation companies reportedly covered by compliance concerns. The Senate President warned that distribution utilities that repeatedly failed to comply with regulatory requirements could face a congressional review of their franchises, including possible cancellation. Gatchalian clarified that the committee was not accusing power companies of wrongdoing, but was seeking safeguards against possible abuse during periods of volatile fuel prices. Juan assured the panel that the ERC would submit the requested documents and information. In other news, Senator Erwin Tulfo said the committee may prioritize removing non-technical system losses, including electricity pilferage, illegal metering, and meter tampering from consumers' bill. He said the measure could also cover the value-added tax imposed on such losses, while the government continues to study how to address unavoidable technical losses. Tulfo said distribution utilities responsible for non-technical losses could be assigned a zero recovery cap, meaning such losses would no longer be recovered from consumers through electricity rates. Tulfo further said that system losses taken from theft, pilferage, illegal metering, and tampering should not be charged to consumers. And in the news outside the country, Iran said it would continue to defend itself for as long as necessary, as regional mediators worked on a new ceasefire proposal that talks over safe shipping through the Strait of Hormuz showed some progress. According to Al Jazeera, Qatar, Egypt, and Pakistan have been working with other regional mediators on a new ceasefire between the United States and Iran and submitted a proposal for a 10-day truce. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghai said Iran and Oman held fruitful talks on managing safe shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, with some progress achieved. Baghai said the United States was not involved in the recent talks with Oman, describing them as a bilateral matter between Iran and Oman, saying the waterway remains closed. Pressure has mounted on U.S. President Donald Trump over the continuing conflict, with concerns about the Pentagon's diminishing stockpiles of Patriot anti-missile interceptors and other air defense munitions in the Middle East. The New York Times reported that Trump and his top advisors have also expressed concern about the risk of a wider regional war, the vulnerability of Gulf allies to Iranian attacks, and the potential for a global economic crisis, energy shortages, and a refugee crisis. The report said the Pentagon has used more than 1,200 Patriot interceptors or missiles in the war by late April, each costing more than $4 million, further straining U.S. air defense inventories. Public support for the war has also declined. A Reuters Ipsos poll published Monday found that only about 1 in 3 Americans support the war against Iran, while 69% said Trump had not clearly explained the goals of U.S. military involvement. A recent Washington Post Ipsos poll also found that 68% of Americans believe the war is not worth fighting. Experts said neither the United States nor Iran appears interested in a full-scale war because both sides recognize the high cost of further escalation. Gaza-based political analyst Mustafa Ibrahim said the United States is facing domestic economic pressures, including rising oil prices, while Iran has suffered significant military strikes that have further damaged its economy. Ibrahim said an agreement remains possible if both sides can reach a better understanding on key issues, including sanctions relief, U.S. policies regarding the Strait of Hormuz, and other unresolved disputes. In other story, the World Heritage Committee concluded its 48th session in Busan, Republic of Korea, with the addition of 25 new sites to UNESCO World Heritage List. All inscriptions during the session were adopted by consensus, reflecting the cooperative spirit that underpins the 1972 World Heritage Convention. The session also marked the first ever inscriptions on the UNESCO World Heritage List for 3 African countries, Comoros, Sao Tome and Principe, and South Sudan, highlighting the organization's efforts to create a more balanced and representative list. The committee also added 6 sites to the list of World Heritage in danger, recognizing their outstanding value and the urgent need to protect them. With the new inscriptions, the UNESCO World Heritage List now comprises 1,273 sites across 173 countries. UNESCO Director General Khalid El Inani congratulated the countries and communities behind the newly inscribed sites, saying the locations represent the shared heritage of humanity and the spirit of cooperation and consensus at the heart of the 1972 World Heritage Convention. El Inani also emphasized that inscribing a site marks the beginning of a long-term commitment to protect and effectively manage it while ensuring that local communities benefit from its heritage status. And finally, in the news outside the country with reference to the Philippines, the United States is launching a 30.8 million pesos law enforcement training program to help the Philippines deter terrorist threats against Americans and Filipinos. The initiative was formalized through an agreement signed by the U.S. Embassy in Manila and the Zamboanga del Sur provincial government during a ceremony on July 30. Under the agreement, the U.S. Department of State's Anti-Terrorism Assistance (ATA) program will provide permanent and dedicated training facilities in Pagadian City for recurring specialized training courses for the Philippine National Police. U.S. Embassy Acting Senior Regional Security Officer Daniel Art said the investment reflects the U.S. confidence in the PNP and the belief that a safer and more capable police force will help create a safer Philippines and United States and strengthen the alliance between the two countries. Zamboanga del Sur Governor Divina Grace Yu said the partnership will help enhance the capabilities of Filipino law enforcers, particularly in Mindanao, in deterring and preventing acts of terrorism. Yu said the initiative will also help strengthen security and stability in Zamboanga del Sur, Mindanao, and the country as a whole. The United States has been facilitating ATA courses for more than 10,000 Filipino law enforcement personnel since 2006. Around 2,000 PNP and other law enforcement personnel are expected to receive training at the new Pagadian facilities every year. The U.S. Embassy in Manila said the investment supports the two countries' efforts to further strengthen their relations as they mark 80 years of diplomatic ties in 2026. That's the news at 12, July 31, 2026. We'll be back next week for more news updates. Thanks to our news writers LJ Lorejo and Ian Buitre. And on the technical side, Chad Bobis. Our Provincial Information Office OIC, Mari Gonzalez. And under the supervision of our Governor, Noel Irusal. And I am Greg Helyare. Thank you for subscribing. Albay in my heart.